Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome back to Jamie Photography. So I'm going to have a bit of fun today. I'm going to have a real play with generative fill again. I do love the function. I'm going to show you some of the different ways you can deal with perspective and how you can remove objects in the background in a way that looks quite natural. So this shot here, Serena and Lily, a popular store in the US. This is Westport in Connecticut. This is their store there, beautiful little building. And I thought I'd shoot it and give it a little bit of day tonight, do a sky replacement and take all the cars out the car park. So where did I start? So this is where I started. This is the raw image. You can find the raw image down below. You're welcome to download it and follow along. More than happy for you to do that. You will need to find your own sky to use because I'm still building my sky pack at the moment and for sunsets and sunrises, and hopefully that will be available soon. But what you can see here is the car park full of cars, beautiful building, nice blue sky, but nothing going on. So we do a sky replacement. We take the cars out of the car park, and I'm going to show you how to do that. A couple of different ways of doing that. We can have a play there. Now, if you've got 5 minutes, pop over and have a look at my website. The link's down below, jrmathlin.uk. You can see that I do have one sky pack available at the moment, which is night skies, and I will be doing some more night sky replacements. Those images are taken from all over the world, from the UK, from the US, South Africa, some of my best work actually, and you can download them in DMG's full 14-bit color if you want to, or you can just take them down in JPEGs, and I've tried to keep the price reasonable, so take a look at that. Also on my website you can see a little bit about me, who I am, the gear I shoot with, gallery of some of the images that I've produced over the years. So anyway, if you haven't already subscribed, it would be good for you to join me here on YouTube. And if you do like the video as we go through, feel free to click like. And I always love to see your comments and questions and tips that you might have. So take 5 seconds to let me know. So let's have a play with Serena and Lily, the building here. Okay, let's get started. So perspective, maintaining perspective with generative fill. As you can see, the cars here are sort of going away over quite a distance in this car park. So we want to remove the cars from the car park, make the car park look empty. So I'm going to take you through how we can do that. I'm also going to tidy up this shot as well. There's drains and a few bits and pieces. So we'll go through and do that. And I think whilst we're also in Photoshop, I'm going to do a sky replacement as well. Might as well. So beautiful little building here. So first thing I'm going to do is just put in a crop. I'm just going to take a little bit of this out over on the left. Just going to move just to the side of that curb you can see there, and then we're going to bring this up. And I'm just going to bring the edge of that sort of curbstone there just on the corner, and I think that works quite well. So let's just see if that's a standard size, 1610 maybe. Yeah, it's not far off 1610, so I'm going to go there. There we go. So you can select the fixed sizes. If it's locked, you can click on the button here, and you can pick the standard sizes. And if you unlock it, you can change it to any size you want. So I'm just going to hit return. So that's pretty good. I'm just also going to run denoise whilst we're here. You might say, well, it's ISO 100. You know, it's a nice bright day. But if you zoom into this sort of undercovered area here, and I haven't made any adjustments yet, you know, I've got apart from the shadows being up to 100%, you can see there's quite a bit of noise there. So what we're going to do is we're going to run denoise. I generally do it, and I do it at the beginning, so we've got all the data to play with from the beginning. I'm going to select 50%. I'm not going to create a stack, and I'm just going to click enhance, and you will see up in the top left corner here, it's just processing that denoise now. It's doing quite well. There we go. And then if you look at the noise here, once it comes back, it's pretty well gone. I mean, it is astounding how good it is. We're zoomed in at 300% at the moment, so you can just about make the pixels out. So we're pretty close. So zoom back out. I also would just want to check the perspective here. If I click auto, it's just going to correct the perspective for us slightly. I'm happy with that. Sometimes I do use the guided, but in this case, the auto seems to have worked quite well. And we can now go over into Photoshop. Now you might say, well, why don't you use the generative remove function that's in Lightroom? And the main reason for that is it's very different in the way it works to how the generative fill in Photoshop, particularly Photoshop Beta, works. And when you're in Lightroom, it has a tendency to want to replace things with other things. So if I highlight a car here and then remove it, there's a high probability it'll try and put another car or a bicycle or something in that place. Where if you do generative fill and then you just do the you click generative generate, it in Photoshop it tends to actually remove things very well. So I prefer to do that. So I'm just going to go over into Photoshop. So I'm going to right click on here, go to edit in, and then I'm going to go to Adobe Photoshop Beta. And I'll still use the beta version. It has all the latest updates and bits and pieces. I don't seem to get any problems with stability. It seems to work very, very well, but you do get an extra 1 or 2 extra items. And you can, if you want to get beta as well, it's available to you if you have the photography pack in the Adobe Cloud. You can just click into apps, go to betas, and download the Photoshop beta. So I'm just going to go across into Photoshop. Here we are here. I'm just going to fit that to screen. There we go. So we're zoomed in here a little bit, and this is the area we're going to want to deal with. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to the lasso tool. You can press L to get it. And in the lasso tool, we have the polygon lasso tool. That means we can draw straight lines to remove things. And in one big take. So let me just try and show you how that would work. I'm just going along the top of the wall here. I'm just going to go around that car. Here we go, up there, around these cars here. Across there, up and over, and effectively try to capture everything in one bite. Now, there we go. So if I do generative fill and generate, what you can see here is it's put the road in here, which is actually, it's put a lot of garden in here, which is quite nice. And it has to some degree maintain the perspective. That's option 1. Let's have a look at option 2. Well, the road goes away behind. And option 3, there's a lot of grass in there and the road's sort of turning up, but it's a little bit messy here. We could generate again. You know, I could go with number 1, to be honest. It's pretty good. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to undo this, and then what we're going to do is show you. Let me just remove that. So we're going to delete the layer and we go back to where we were. So if you take a scene and break it down into depth so that you remove part of the image and then the next part of the image and the next part of the image, you can develop much more intricate and more detailed. And because it's not such a big selection, the level of detail remains slightly higher. So I'm just going to zoom in here a little bit more. So we're just going to go in onto these cars here. There we go. That's the area we want to deal with. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this Volvo here. So I'm just going to use the selection tool, the lasso tool, to just go around this car. Remember to get the shadows. It's important to get the shadows, and just go relatively tight around the car, making your selections. And the polygonal lasso tool does allow you to do these straight lines in selection. So you literally do click and then sort of click again and just keep drawing these straight lines to get back to where you started. So there's the selection. So I'm going to click generative fill and generate. So it's removed the Volvo, and it's given the Range Rover here a new front end with a different wheel. But don't worry, we're going to remove that as well. And we're going to take out this, I think it's a Honda. So we're just going to go up and around, same thing. And then we're just going to go around there into the plants, down onto the wall, and we'll take out that sign whilst we're here as well. Back to the beginning, generative fill and generate. So now we've got rid of those 2 cars, and these other cars are remaining there. You see, they although it's not accurate in the way it's replaced the actual car, it's kept them in the same perspective area. So the next bit to do is to remove this midground. So we're going to go in on this line here. We're going to go along Remember to get the shadows of the cars. I'm going to leave that little bit of curb in there. So just going to come up over here. That sign we'll get to in a minute, the orange sign. And we're just going to pick our way around these cars that are here. So I'm going relatively tight to them. Just want to make sure that we don't get anything else other than the cars we want to remove. So this mid-ground is what we're going to try to correct now. Now, interestingly, when you go around the shadow, if you cross a lamppost like this, Generative Fill knows to keep the post in because it's got the information above and below the line. So we're going to click Generative Fill and Generate. So there we go. It's removed those cars in the midground and it's left this little parking island in. We've got a couple of options. Let's have a look. That's option 1. That's option 2 if we want all car park. And option 3. So I actually quite like it with this sort of bit of curb in the center there. So now we've done this foreground and the midground. Now we've got to do the background. So if we went to do the whole lot in one go, we'd end up with quite a big selection there. So what we can do is do a smaller selection. So I think what I'm going to do in this case is I'm going to remove the cars in the center here. And I'm just going to go around that blue sign. Don't want that blue sign there. I'm just going to go across and we will take out that sign this time and return round back over the top of these cars, over the top of that sign because we want to get rid of that sign. And we'll take that selection there. So they stay high resolution because we're doing smaller selections. So got rid of those middle cars. So let's have a look at what options we've got available. Option 1, option 2, option 3. Quite like the bright hedge there on option 2. Right, now we're going to take out this group of cars over here. So same thing again. We're just going to work our way around, making sure we've got the shadows for the cars. We're going to come out to there. I'm going to keep the hedge in this time. So I'm going to go down and take this car with this selection over the top, back through there. I think I'm going to go and take that sign out. So as you can see, I'm just doing the masking by just clicking one line after the other. There we go. Okay, that's option 1. That's option 2. That's option 3. So actually option 1's pretty good. But what you can do is if you're not happy with any of these ones in here, what you can do is you can generate again. And now we've got another 3 options, 1, 2, and 3, and we still got the original 3 as well. So you can pick where you are. Now, interestingly, if there's one that you like, and I'm going to say probably that one I like, what you can do is you can do variations on this one. So if you go to the one that's highlighted, you can see over here on the right, you've got a couple of little boxes here. You've got enhance the detail, so you can increase the amount of detail in that particular scene, and it's pretty good. If you look here, we because we've done a small selection, or you can hit these 3 little dots and you can generate similar. So you can generate again. So if I click on that, as you can see, it's given us another 3 options: option 1, option 2, option 3. Or we can always just go back to the one that we had. So you've got lots of options, and I can show you if we look at this lantern here in the distance. If I zoom in a little bit more, you can see that the resolution is pretty good because we did a smaller selection. But if I go on to that one and click enhance the detail, okay, it will actually boost the detail just a little bit more, and that improves the resolution. As you can see, that's certainly as good as the resolution we've got from an area which we haven't corrected. So just going to zoom back out again. So we just get this last bit to do here. So I'm going to go back to the polygonal lasso tool, and we're just going to go in and around and take out this last little group of cars here. What I am going to also do is, whilst I'm here, I'm just going to take out this blue emergency pole as well, and we can come straight across there, up over the top of those cars. There we go, down. We'll keep that tree in the shot, and we'll keep that fence in the shot. Come back to this blue emergency pole, and I'm just going to go over the top of that, back down. There we go. Keep that tree in, across here, and just pick up those last few bits. So there's our selection, got the whole of the emergency pole in. So generative fill and generate. There we go. We got 3 options again. So that road's sort of going up and away there. So we can, there's a nice one. I quite like that one. You've got real depth going back to there. And that one there's going up a little bit high. I quite like that one. But what I'm going to do is do what we just did a moment ago. Go to the 3 dots and generate similar on the one I like. So there's another 3 options, 1, 2, and 3. In fact, I think I still prefer that one there. The lantern over here is a little bit strange, so we can sort that out if we want to. So that's a way to generate more depth as you go back. But honestly, I think the one that we did at the beginning, the full one, was really quite good. The first hit. So what I can do is I can go into my history. So I can click on history, and I can go back to this generative fill, which was at the beginning, and we can just tidy up a few little bits and pieces in here. I think that one works very well. I think this lantern here works very good. I'm not sure I want this lantern in the middle here, so we can just select flatten the image, so we bring everything onto one layer, and then we can either use the remove tool if we don't want to use any more tokens. With generative fill, we can use the remove tool here and just take a small brush using the remove tool, and we can just take out these areas using the remove tool. And because you've got this sort of chaotic background with the trees, the remove tool works actually very well in this sort of circumstance. So again, I can pull that down through there, look, and we can just, using the remove tool, we can take those out. So quite happy with that. There is a car there in the distance. I'm just going to take that car out. Let's see if we can do it with the remove tool. It's a little bit more detailed when there's like a vehicle in a scene. So we'll see how that does. Yeah, it works quite well. And I'm just going to take that little bit of road out there, just so we've got that there. And we only need 1 lantern over there, not 2, even though there was 2 originally. We'll take one of those lanterns out. So so that's pretty good. That's pretty tidy there. Now on the road itself here, I'd like to get rid of this arrow. So let's do it using the remove tool. Let's see if it can be done easily enough with the remove tool. On a smooth tarmac surface, that can work very well. So I'm just going to let that do the work. Yeah, that works very good indeed. And we've got these double yellow lines here just coming into the shot. I don't want them on the edge of the shot like that. It's a little bit distracting. So we'll try to remove those with the remove tool as well. Hopefully that will work. If not, we can do a generative fill to remove. No, that works okay. Now we've got the drain to remove. Now I know that won't work very well with the remove tool alone. So I'm going to go back into the lasso tool. This time I'm going to get the flexible lasso so I can actually draw. And I'm just going to zoom in slightly. And then we're just going to draw a line around this drain. So there we go. A lot of people ask me, they say, what do you use as your input device? Do you use a mouse or do you use a Wacom pad? And actually I just use a trackpad. I've got a Mac Studio here, and I've got a wireless Mac pad here that I just use. So very similar to what you'd have on your laptop or your MacBook Pro. But it's just a separate little unit, and it just allows me to move, pretty well in any direction. Very light touch with the finger. So just going to run generative fill and generate. There we go. That's pretty good. We still get the 3 options though if we want to. So option 1, option 2, option 3. I think option 2 looks the best. So I'm going to go back to the remove tool, and we're just going to nip around the scene here and just take out any sort of spare little bits of detail that we may not want. This leaf, for example, on the road here. And you can just work your way around and tidy up the image so you're not got anything distracting. Because if it turns out to be a great picture, and you want to put it up on the wall, if you do make it large on a big canvas or something and you put it on the wall, trust me, that little leaf here, like this one, will stand out. It'll be about 3 inches in size, 2 or 3 inches. So you end up only seeing that each time. So just take a little bit of time to go through and just tidy up any little marks, any leaves, any garbage, any rubbish that you think is in the way, and it just makes for a better picture later on. And wherever you go in the world's never perfect. So Photoshop and Lightroom do give you the options to make it just a little bit more perfect and a little bit closer to being perfect. So I'm just going to take that yellow line out as well because it's right on the edge here and it would be distracting to the scene there. So just going to let it do that work, and the remove tool's just calculating what needs to be done there. And there we go. Look at that. Beautiful. So there's a couple of things on the house I think we need to deal with. I don't like this yellow label here, so I'm just going to remove that. I think this big sign over here to the right needs to be dealt with. Now that will definitely be a generative fill selection. So I'm going to go back into the lasso and then pick the polygonal again, so we can just draw some straight lines around this aluminium sign here. So we're just going to go around there. And you might say, well, why don't you go all the way down and take out the post as well? Well, I do that second time because, again, we don't want the selection being too big so that we end up losing resolution. So generative fill and generate. So let's see how it's done there. Well, there's a strange bit of detail there. So option 2, that looks better. Option 3. So you've got a choice. You can take the roof all the way through, or we can end it there and just have the shingles coming to the top of the window. I personally prefer that one there. So I'm just going to move that up out of the way. We're now going to take out this post here. So I'm going to do quite a close crop here. So just going to pick up there, and we'll go really quite tight in on it round the bottom. Same up the other side. We'll make that selection, generative fill and generate. There we go, got 3 options. So it seems to have dealt with the edge of that window quite well. So option 1, option 2, option 3. I think option 2 actually is the better of those. That works very, very well. And then I do see this sign out the front. Now, it is part of the scene, but whilst we're making changes, So let's take this sign out because it's a lovely little veranda, and it should look really, really good without it. Now, it'll be interesting to know how it deals with these plants behind. Will it put it in a trough or will it put it in a pot? Let's see. Generative fill and generate. So it's put it in a pot, which is very good. Option 1, option 2, option 3. Oh, you can have quite an ornate pot, or you can have just a standard pot with the plants hanging down. I'm going to go with the ornate pot. I think that looks very good. I'm going to drop back to the remove tool again. I'm just going to flatten the whole image again so that we're all back onto one area, because I'm happy with the fills we've done. So we're back to a single layer, so I can use the remove tool. I'm just going to take out these lights. Not a big fan of signs and things, so we're just going to take out this little disabled sign on the door here. Here we go. Let that deal with that. Now, just a couple of little minor bits and pieces left. You'll see there's reflections off of things in the window, so we can just take those bright spots out, and we can go from there. Now, if we were doing a day to night, what we would want to do is try to minimize the reflections on the window, because if we light the room up, it would become very bright inside. And like here, for example, you can see there's a reflection of a car opposite. So I could use the remove tool here, and I could just go in there on that window, and here we go, and see if it will remove that reflection. If not, we could use generative fill to remove that. So in its place, it's put a plant. which still looks like a reflection, but it matches the one above. So I'm okay with that for now, because we're not going to light these windows today. We don't have time in the video to do a full day to night as well. So I think we're pretty well. I think we're pretty well done. There's a nice light on in that room up there. Oh, I did see a tile there that needs fixing. Wonderful thing about Remove tool is that you can fix roof tiles. So just hover over it like so, and the Remove tool will actually realize that you want it to look like the rest of it. So fix the roof there, no charge, absolutely no charge. It's all done. So just a few little bits and pieces. The problem I have is I get so involved in using the Remove tool. It's quite therapeutic, and I can end up spending hours just working my way around and looking at things I'd like to correct. So let's just go back to fit screen. We've had a good tidy up, we removed the drains, we've sorted out this car park behind, put a nice bit of garden behind instead using the generative fill. I can turn off the history for now. And yeah, I'm pretty happy with this. So I think whilst we're here, let's do a sky replacement. I think that would be a nice thing to do, because just a plain blue sky never really does it for me. So I'm just going to go to edit. I'm going to go to sky replacement, and I've got one of my skies here loaded up. Now, at the moment, if you go to my website, jrmafflin.uk, you'll find that there is a sky pack in there, but it's night skies, and it's high res and JPEG shots of the Milky Way at night from all over the world. I'm very proud of those pictures, and you're welcome to purchase either DNGs or JPEGs, which are a little bit cheaper. I'm working on, at the moment, getting a full sunset and sunrise set together to put on there. Not quite there yet, because I want them to be really, really good. And as you can see here, this is quite an interesting sky we've got here. I'm just going to try and flip it from left to right and just see if we can. And that works quite well, because you've got this sort of band of cloud around the top here. It's a little bit light over here, but we can deal with that. So let's just have a little bit of a zoom in and see how the how it's actually done here. So take the magnifying glass, and I'm just going to zoom in, and I want to see whether we're getting any sort of edging there coming through, and it's not. It's pretty good. There's a little bit on that window there. If I move over to this side, there's a little bit here. So we can deal with that using the refine brush here. You see second one down is a refine brush. And what you can do is you can select that brush, and if you hold down the Alt or Option key, what you can do is you can actually brush that away. A couple of passes normally gets rid of it completely. There we go. And you can work through there. And if you do go over the edge, it doesn't matter, because it's the refine tool. It knows where the edge is. So as you can see, to move the image there, as you saw me just do, just hold down the space bar, and you can move it across. So there we go. That looks a lot better. Maybe a little bit over here. So still holding down the Option key, I can just take that little bit out. So you're just getting a little bit coming over onto the image, because if I shift edge too much further to stop that, we'll end up with a bit of a halo along the edge here. So same here. Look, I'm just taking that out, and we can just a couple of passes there, and that ends up being pretty well perfect. So happy with that. So let's just zoom back. Let's go back onto the magnifying glass, and we'll just zoom back so we can see the whole scene. So I think the fade edge, if we go all the way to the right, you can see those halos I'm talking about. And if we go all the way to the left, we can reduce those really quite well, bring them down. There's a little bit of one on the edge here, but again, we can use the refine tool, and this time not holding down the optional Alt key, we can just fill in that edge and come in there just a little bit better. And then if I do hold down the optional Alt key, I can just take away anything that's over the edge there. So just get that in there. That looks better. Right. So we can just make some other slight adjustments here. We can make the sky slightly darker. We can make the sky slightly brighter. I'm going to go slightly brighter because the house is very well lit here. I can add in more color if I want to, or I can add in more blue. So I'm going to find a balance there with a little bit of blue. I like the blue in this scene. And then you have the foreground lighting. Now you have the lighting mode, which is you can have multiply or screen. If I click to screen, you'll see that the object itself is much brighter. And then you can deal with that by moving the foreground slider to the left to make it darker. If you're in multiply, then to get it right, you need to move it to the right to make it darker. So that actually looks a little bit more realistic. You've got a tight edge there. And then also with the edge lighting, we can just see how the very edge of the image ties in with the sky. So if I go all the way to the right, it's really tight. If I go all the way to the left, it just opens it up a little bit more. And I'm going to go more to the left there, I think. And finally, the color adjustment, well, that alters the foreground to match the sky. So if I go all the way to the right, the foreground gets a color applied from the sky. If I go all the way to the left, it's more like the original. So in this case, I'm going to go all the way to the right and try and match it in. So I'm quite happy with that. The output, I can have a duplicate layer, or you can have new layers to show every element of the sky. In this case, I'm just going to go duplicate layer, and I'm going to click on OK. And now you can see we've got the new layer called background copy, and that's the one with the sky actually in the scene. So one last thing I can just see on this window here is a reflection of this lantern. So whilst I'm here, I think I'm just going to zoom in on that, and I'm just going to take that out. Now, the remove tool should be able to do that. So let's try the remove tool. If that doesn't work, we will do a little generative fill. So I'm just going to take quite a small brush. I'm going to brush along the edge of that window there, up and over. And the good thing about the remove tool is if you just encase an area and let go, it actually automatically fills in for you. And let's just see how it deals with that. Sometimes you can see the difference between there. Can you see that? You can still see it there. So just going to Control Z or Command Z on a Mac to remove it. We'll go to the polygonal tool, and we will literally just do a triangle, and we do generative fill and generate. Yep, that worked. It's still a little bit there, but it's better. Option 1, option 2, option 3. I think I will go with option 1. And I note whilst I'm here, just going to use the remove tool and just take out that little light. I think it's a CCTV camera, an infrared camera that's just on the gutter behind the lantern. Gone. Good. Okay, so we now just going to switch off the background. We don't need that one anymore. I'm just going to right click, flatten the image again. And we've effectively just got the one layer. So we're good. I think we're ready to go back into Lightroom and just finish this little scene off. So I'm going to go to File, Close, and then I'm going to click Save. And that's going to take me back into Lightroom. And there we go. We're back in Lightroom. Okay, so how should we finish this image off? Well, we need to darken down this house. It's very bright at the moment with this sky. And of course, you've got all this light over here, and all this light over here would suggest that the sun is over that way. So these shadows don't work in this direction. So what we're going to do is we're going to darken the whole scene. So first off, we're just going to go to the basics here, go to the top, and we're just going to darken the whole scene down. So I'm going to come down about 1.4 stops, something like that. Just darken it down. We need to deal with this bright sky over here. So we can deal with that using the generative remove function that you get here in Lightroom. So generative AI is ticked on, object aware is ticked on. I've got a little brush here. I'm just going to make it slightly bigger. I'm just going to come in on the edge of that building. I don't want to overlap the building too much because I don't want it to remove the building. And I just want to take a bit of that tree in there and just take out that bright spot like so. I'm then going to select apply. There we go. That's better. A little bit darker over there, but that's better. I can, if I want, just do one more pass on that just to remove that last little bit of bright sky there. So apply that one again. There, that's better. There we go. And then just this bright bit over here. And it's funny, people don't realize what you can do with generative remove or certainly with generative fill. You know, just taking a bright bit of sky out like that. So we've selected that bit of sky there. We're just going to apply that. There we go. That does look better. We do, of course, get 3 variations. So we can have that one, or that one. I actually prefer that one. That's pretty good. Right, just going to boost the sky a little bit. So we're going to go into masks. We're going to select sky. Now, what you see quite often is that the mask, when you select sky, overlaps the object quite a lot. And you end up, not having a very good mask. Well, what you can do is you can take that sky mask, you can go to the 3 dots and you can intersect it with another sky mask. And that will help quite a bit. You can actually remove that there. What you can also do is you can subtract a sky which is inverted. So effectively you're taking the opposite, and that also helps tidy up the mask as well with skies. So I'm happy with that. We could dress in a few bits and pieces up here if we wanted to, but I'm okay with this because it's going to be quite dark at the top when we finish. So what we're going to do with that sky is we're going to add in some contrast. We're going to just add in a little bit of highlights in there. Maybe open the shadow up just a little bit to bring this sky a little bit brighter in the distance here, not too much. The blue's pretty strong anyway, so I might just add a little bit of orange just to boost the sky a little bit. But the really important one with skies is clarity. Watch this sky here. When I move over here, when I move this clarity slider, you ready? I mean, wow, you just get all this depth built into that. But just going to back it off just a little bit. But yeah, it's amazing. You can always add just a little bit of texture as well to a sky. And another thing that works quite well is adding a little bit of sharpness to a sky. It makes the edges pop. It really does make it come alive. So happy with that. What I want to do also is this little bit of sky over here. I want to make this a little bit brighter. So I'm going to create a new mask and get a radial gradient here. I'm going to take quite a large radial gradient over on this side over here, just to light that sky up a little bit more. But I don't want it on the building, so I can intersect that with the sky mask, and that will just take the building out and just do it on the sky. And then what we can do with that is we can boost the exposure in that area. We can boost the contrast over there. Add a little bit more, maybe take a little bit of the highlights out actually, just so that cloud lining doesn't get too bright, and just open up just a little bit of the shadows, and that can work quite well. Maybe bring that highlight down just a little bit more. So we've got that bright sort of area on the left here, and on this side be a little bit darker. That little bit up in the top right corner is a bit bright, so just going to go back in. This time I'm going to use the heal tool rather than generative remove, and I'm just going to take paint across there with the remove tool and just take that out where that edge was a bit bright up there, and that's working very, very well. So dealing with the subject that we've got here, what we need to do with this building is we need to probably relight it. So again, we can go back into masks, we can create another radial gradient, and we can pop it on this building itself. So maybe I'll take one in the center here. Remember that we want to subtract the sky. We don't want the sky in this particular mask. And then we're just going to brighten the building just a little bit, adding contrast, and of course adding some clarity. I don't know why the clarity slider is always a long way down there. It'd be good if they were just underneath these sliders up here. But anyway, that's where it is. And we can just move this around if we want to, just to see where we get different effects and what we would be happy with. So I'm probably going to leave it roughly around about there. That's it. Just back that off a little bit more. That's good. We can light these lanterns up a little bit more. I'll do a little tiny bit of day tonight whilst we're here, might as well. And I'll show you a little trick with this lantern as well. If we just come out there and I'm going to zoom in on this lantern. Now, you can see that it's lovely clear glass, and you can see the roof tiles behind. But using my normal technique, which is to light up this area, we're going to get an interesting effect. And let me just show you what I mean. I'm going to go into create mask. I'm going to take a radial gradient. We're going to do my standard day to night approach. Take a large radial, put it on the lantern itself there like so. Just make that a little bit smaller. There we go. We're going to take the exposure to 100% so it lights it up. And then we're going to subtract a brush, okay? And that brush is going to have 0 feather and 100% flow. So it removes, yeah, the mask that we've got there. And I'm just going to go to the edge here, click once, hold down the shift, click again to get a straight line, and just work my way around this lantern. And I'm just clicking and then shift clicking, shift clicking to get those straight lines. So make the brush a little bit smaller. And you can do that using the square brackets to the left of the return key. And then we'll make the brush bigger. And then we'll go around again, click, shift click, just to work around the areas that we haven't removed. There we go. Just going to come out there. And then we can go bigger again still, and we can just make sure we've got all of that. There we go. And if you hover over the mask itself, you can see what you've actually masked. So as you can see, these tiles are brighter than the tiles around here. And if I zoomed back on this, you'd see what I mean. I mean, if we went back here, that doesn't look natural because the roof wouldn't be lit by that lantern in there. So how do we deal with that? Right. Well, what we do, and this is quite fun actually, is that from this particular mask, I want to subtract. Now I need something to allow me to just remove these areas here. And I could go in with a brush, but one of the great tools that we have available is the object selection. And if I just take a brush here and I just paint in the area that I want to select. So we just come up there. I don't want to do the top of the box because that would be lit up. So as you can see there, it's just selected area. And then once we've got one removed like so, we can do the others. So we can go back into there, can subtract another object selection. Same thing, just paint it in. And that will remove that one. And finally, subtract one more object. Make the brush a little bit smaller to get into that corner there. So we're just going to go around. There we go. And we can select that one with the object. So this one here still seems a little bit bright, so we can subtract one more object. There we go. And we'll just go in there on that one there. And there we go. So now if I zoom back, you will see that it looks far more natural. But I want to make it brighter still. So I'm just going to select the mask that we had. I'm going to right click on it and I'm going to duplicate the mask so that we keep all of the things that we did. So that's really bright now, but that's too bright. So the top one, I'm just going to back it off a little bit. So we can just bring it back because you can go all the way back to 0 and that's where we were. We can make it a little bit brighter. I'm just going to pop in a bit of yellow in there. And we got ourselves a lantern that is brightly lit. So if I go back to there, turn off the masks, you can see that one's much brighter, gives us a little bit more effect. So I'll just do this one down here, but I'll speed the video up so you don't have to watch me do it all again slowly. Okay, there we go. That's looking pretty good. So I'm happy with that. But what we do need to do is put a little bit more light in around the bottom here. So I just need to darken this a little bit more, and I can do that by taking a mask, creating a new mask here, going to a linear gradient, and I'm just going to bring in a linear gradient along that line like that, and then just reduce it so it's just a little bit darker along the front here, just not very much, just a little bit. And then what we can do now is we can create another radial gradient, and we can add in the light from this light fitting here. So I'm just going to put that at the bottom of the light fitting, bring it across like that. And then as we bring that up, you can see it almost adds the light coming from there. Just add in a little bit of orange just to make it pop a little bit. And I am going to add in some some clarity just to make it work there. I'm going to take a copy of that one. So I'm going to duplicate that one. And I'm just going to take it down to this one down here and make it, oops, select the right one, make it smaller. Let's do it from this side. Doesn't want me touching it on that side, too close to the other one. There we go. So I'm just going to take that there, make it a little bit smaller. Now it needs to be a little bit darker because it's further away. So I'm just going to back that off just a little bit more. There we go. So we've just got some light down there. Now there would be a bit of light on the tree here. So whilst we're in this radial, we can add a brush like so. I'm going to put auto mask on because I want it just to deal with the green leaves here. I'm going to put the feather up quite high, the flow about halfway. So we can just take a slightly larger brush here and we can just paint in on those bushes here. And the more I paint around the center here, the brighter those will get. So just do those one more time. There we go. So you can see that bush is being illuminated by the lantern itself. A little bit along the top of the hedgerow here, just so that's nice and bright as well. There we go. And a little bit over here on the bushes. So that's looking pretty good. I'd like to light up this porch area. So let's do a bit of light magic in this area here. What we're going to do is create a radial gradient. Now, this is interesting. I'm going to take quite a large radial gradient here. I'm going to put the source of the light underneath this porch area. I'm not going to go quite so far, and I'm going to just bring it in a little bit. Now watch this. This is really clever. If I now increase the exposure, I can light that area underneath there. But of course, it's lighting the area above. But look in here. I'm going to add a little bit of yellow to it, so it looks like there's light coming down through there. Of course, I need to remove this bit from the top. So like we always do, we subtract a brush. We're going to take the brush as 0 feather, so a nice hard edge, 100% flow. And then I'm going to come in and I want to remove it. So I'm just going to zoom in here a little bit, move it over, and I want to take a line along that edge there. So I click once, hold down the shift key and click again. Okay, I actually had the auto mask on there, so I'm just going to redo that. Auto mask off. So just going to come in on that edge there and click again. Okay, so we're just going to do that. We can paint that rest of that bit out there. I'm just going to take a bigger brush so we can just go back and forth here and just take the rest of that out. Just move down slightly. There we go. Now if I zoom back out there and hover over the mask, you can see there's still a little bit up there, so we just get rid of those bits there. So we've only got the light underneath there now, and that works really, really well. You can see there, it looks really good. So I'm actually going to turn it slightly. So we're just going to turn it like that, so it's not quite straight. That looks really nice. We're going to do the same again over here. I'm going to take a new radial gradient rather than copying this one, because I've done a lot of removal there, and I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm going to take slightly narrower one, put it behind the beam there, and I'm just going to add that little bit of orange in there and then brighten that up. Same sort of way, add a little bit of contrast to that one, a little bit more orange. I'm going to add a little bit of magenta just to balance that orange off, so it doesn't look too yellow. I can make it look a bit more golden. That works quite well. Let's just move it over so it's center of the window. Same thing again, subtract a brush, feather 0, flow high. Let's zoom in and have a closer look. Smaller brush. Let's go on that edge there, look, and across there. Shift and then click, and then we can take that out. And I'm just going to take a big brush again, take the top of this off, zoom it out. There we go. So we've got the light coming underneath there. So I'm just going to hover over the mask. Happy with that. That looks pretty good. So maybe we want to just add a little bit more color to the front of this building. We can do that. One of the things I like to do here is use a brush, a new brush, feather high, flow about 50%. I want the auto mask on because I want to actually pick up some detail here. And then what we're going to do, brush a little bit smaller, and we're just going to take some color. So we're going to add some yellow and some magenta here and a little bit of saturation. And then I'm just going to pick up around here on this color. So just wash it in as we go around here. So just adding that to the area there. So a little bit more. Looks all right. So I can boost the saturation more, add even more color into that. You can see that color starting to appear now. That works well. I don't want to light the sky up anymore with the colors that we've got. So just put a bit around the back there as well. So I can always subtract the sky, so we don't put it in the sky. Bit too yellow now. Maybe add a little bit more magenta into it and back the saturation off slightly. There we go. This area here is still a little bit bright, so we can go back to that original radial gradient there and just bring that down just a little bit. I might open up the shadows slightly, drop the highlights a little bit. So it's working quite well in there. So yeah, I think we're getting close to having a workable image. I think we just need to just brighten the whole scene ever so slightly. So I'm going to come out of masks. I'm going to go up to the exposure slider and just bring it up a little bit, but I'm going to add in some contrast, not too much, a little bit brighter. Works quite well. I'm going to add a little bit of clarity to the whole scene. So it just makes it stand out that little bit more. And I think what we do need to do is we do need a post-crop vignette. So right down the bottom, go into effects, just bring a post-crop vignette in. So we're going to quite a heavy one, about -25. But remember to take the feather slider and slide it to 100, and it just opens the scene up just a little bit. That might be a bit too heavy. Bring that back to about 20. That's okay. I'm going back up to the top again. So just making those final adjustments here. I'm just going to make the whole thing slightly brighter. I'm going to bring the highlights up just a little bit. Do we need some more shadows opening up? I'm not sure we do. It makes the sky a little bit too much. I go about there. Just going to check my whites and blacks. Going to hold down the Alt key, go to the white slider, Alt or Option key. If I go more, I get more white. If I go less, I get less white. But actually, I want the lanterns themselves lit up. So I'm not going to make any change to the white. Happy with that. Blacks, just add in a little bit more black there, just to make it stand out. And I'm going to add a little bit of texture in. And I think we're looking pretty good. Now, one of the things that you can do just to finish an image off, particularly if you've got a lot of color here like this, a lot of color going on, trying to bring those different colors together, is you can back the saturation down. Okay, so let's bring it down to about -450, right? And you might think, oh, it looks all black and white now, but take the vibrance slider and bring it up. So what you can do is you can boost the colors within the scene and give it a little bit more of a sort of oldie world look there. As you can see, I might bring the saturation up just a little bit. Let's come up to -40. There we go. And bring that vibrance down just a little bit so it's not popping too much. You know, and I'm quite happy with that. I've got to say that looks pretty good. Might just want to darken that top down. So create a linear gradient just to bring in from the top, like so, and just back that down a little bit. Close those highlights off. And yeah, I think we are pretty well there. Yeah. Do I want to boost that orange in the sky a little bit? Maybe I do. So let's just create a sky mask again. And I'm just going to bring up the color in the sky, add that bit of magenta in. Maybe add a little bit more contrast into that sky. And of course, add a little bit more clarity into that sky just to make it pop. And I'm going to say, otherwise I'll keep going here, but I'm going to say that I'm going to stick with that for now. I hope you enjoyed that one. Something a little bit different, just a bit of fun. Lots of playing with generative fill there. Hope it gives you some ideas how to use it, and also the benefits of going into Photoshop to use the generative fill in there. So let's just take a look. Where were we? To where we were, and just do a reset on that. That's what we started with. Pretty good image. I left myself a bit of room around the shot so I could crop in. We had all this busy traffic in the background. So we changed it over to this, which I'm very happy with. Whilst I was playing with this just a second ago, I also did a slightly different variant of it. Same thing. And I also lit up the windows a little bit there just to see what I could do with that shot as well. And quite happy with that as well. Slightly different background, but couple of different variants of the same thing. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, click like, and also if you've got 5 seconds, just pop a comment in. Always interested to see what you've got to say, any questions you have, or any comments or tips that you might have. Always very useful. And if you haven't already subscribed, please feel free to do so and join me on this adventure here on YouTube. I'm still having a great time. And for now, I'm going to say bye-bye.